About a year ago, I became convinced someone had put a curse on me. Not in a dramatic horror movie way. More like, everything in my life started falling apart all at once, and I didn't know how else to explain it. My dating life completely died. School went off the rails, missed assignments, bad grades, no focus at all. My parents and I were constantly fighting. Every conversation turned into a blow-up. It felt like no matter what I did, something was always going wrong. And instead of dealing with it rationally, I started doing something really embarrassing in hindsight. I told people I was cursed. I complained about it to friends, classmates, basically anyone who would listen. I'd half joke, half seriously say things like, "I swear someone put the evil eye on me," or "I must have pissed off the universe somehow." Most people brushed it off. They told me I was just going through a rough patch. "Everyone has bad years," they said. "Stop feeding it so much attention." Eventually, I started believing them. The whole curse thing faded into the background. Life was still messy, but I stopped obsessing over it. Then a new girl transferred into our program. Her name was Max. She wasn't loud or outgoing, pretty but in a low-key way. She didn't really talk to anyone at first. While the rest of us moved around in groups, she was usually by herself. I barely noticed her. Until one day after a lecture, she stopped me in the hallway. Out of nowhere, she said, "I think I can help you." I asked her what she meant. "With the curse," she said. Just like that. I remember feeling this weird drop in my stomach. I hadn't talked about that stuff in weeks. I didn't even know how she knew. She said she'd heard things. That she knew ways to get rid of the evil eye. She didn't sound excited or dramatic about it. More like she was offering to help me move apartments or fix a laptop. I should have laughed it off. Instead, I got curious. We agreed to meet at a cafe to talk it over. Looking back, that was probably the moment where everything crossed from bad luck into something else entirely. No, honestly, it didn't raise any red flags for me at all. I didn't think it was weird that a girl I'd barely ever spoken to, someone I hadn't even exchanged hellos with, just walked up to me and confidently started talking about a curse on me. If anything, I found it kind of funny. So yeah, we met at the cafe, and Max and I actually ended up talking for a long time. She came across as extremely trustworthy, calm, grounded, not dramatic or witchy the way you'd expect someone like that to be. She explained very matter-of-factly that I definitely had the evil eye on me, and that it wasn't a joke or a metaphor. She spoke like she was explaining a medical condition, and she said she knew how to remove it. That's where my curiosity and my paranoia completely overpowered my common sense. I started asking her questions, a lot of questions. What do I do? How does it work? How long does it take? Can it get worse? She seemed genuinely pleased by my interest. The very next day, she showed up with something for me. It was an amulet, a small wooden ball on a string. Nothing fancy. No symbols, no carvings. It honestly looked like something you'd find at a craft fair or hanging from a car mirror. She told me I had to do one simple thing. Every evening when I got home, I was supposed to rinse the amulet with water, then pour that water out the window. She said the water would carry the bad energy away. Now, here's the part where I need you to understand my situation. I live on the 5th floor. So yeah, pouring water out the window every night felt like a great way to either soak someone's head or get reported by my neighbors. So instead, I quietly poured it down the sink. I figured it still counted. Water is water, right? Max told me that soon all my problems would start fading. That my bad luck would loosen its grip. That things would slowly get better. They didn't. If anything, things got worse. On top of everything else, I slid into this heavy, painful depression. The kind that doesn't come with a dramatic breakdown, just constant exhaustion, numbness, and this crushing weight in my chest that never went away. At first, I convinced myself it was my fault. I thought maybe the ritual wasn't working because I wasn't doing it correctly. Maybe the sink didn't count. Maybe the energy needed to go outside. So I started following her instructions exactly. I poured the water out the window. Every night. Even when it was cold. Even when I felt ridiculous doing it. Nothing changed. Max and I stayed in touch the whole time. I kept telling her that her miracle amulet wasn't working. That I felt worse, not better. She always brushed it off. "Give it time," she said. "Things like this don't happen overnight. You're already in the process, you just don't see it yet." And I believed her. Because by that point, I didn't want to admit the possibility that I trusted the wrong person. One night, I had a dream that still messes with me. I was lying in bed holding the amulet just like Max told me to. It felt completely normal in the dream, like something I'd done 1,000 times before. Then the scene shifted. I was back in the village where I grew up, the place where I spent most of my childhood summers. Everything looked exactly the way I remembered it. The dirt road, the old wooden fences, the familiar quiet. And then I saw my grandmother. For context, my grandma passed away years ago. In the dream, she stepped out of her house and immediately started walking toward me. Clearly excited, clearly happy to see me. Her face lit up the way it always used to when I visited as a kid. That warm, soft smile that made you feel safe no matter what was going on. She opened her arms like she was about to hug me. And then something changed. With every step she took closer, her expression shifted. The smile faded. Her eyes filled with concern. Then her brows tightened, her mouth went flat, and she looked worried. By the time she reached me, she wasn't smiling at all. She stopped right in front of me and stared at my chest. At the amulet. Her face hardened in a way I had never seen before. Not even when she was angry in real life. This was something else. Fear. Urgency. She pointed straight at the wooden ball hanging around my neck. Take that thing off. Now. Her voice was sharp. Commanding. Not a suggestion. That thing is disgusting, she said. It's draining you. It's pulling your strength out of you and giving it back to its owner. I tried to say something. I don't even know what. That it was supposed to help me. That a friend gave it to me. That it was meant to protect me. She cut me off. Take it off. I remember feeling this sudden, overwhelming panic. Like I'd been caught doing something dangerous without realizing it. My chest felt tight. My hands were shaking as I reached for the string. I woke up in a mild state of shock. Not screaming. Not panicking. Just that awful, heavy realization that something was very wrong. I jumped out of bed, turned on the light, and went straight to the mirror. My hands were shaking as I reached for the amulet. I didn't hesitate this time. I took it off immediately. I want to be clear about something up front. There was no instant miracle. No sudden rush of energy. No dramatic sense of relief. I didn't feel cleansed or reborn or anything like that. I just felt done. I walked into the kitchen, opened the trash can, and threw the amulet away. No ceremony. No second thoughts. I remember thinking that if I'd reached the point where dead relatives were showing up in my dreams to warn me, then maybe it was time to stop messing with this stuff altogether. I told myself I was done with curses, rituals, amulets, all of it. If my life was a mess, then I'd deal with it the normal way. The next morning, as I was walking into my college building, I ran into Max. She was standing right by the entrance like she'd been waiting for someone. For me. She looked tense, concerned, almost nervous. The first thing she asked wasn't hi. It wasn't how are you? She looked straight at me and said, are you wearing the amulet? That alone made my stomach drop. I said no. Told her I'd thrown it away because it was causing me more problems than it was solving. I don't think I managed to smile. If I did, it must have looked terrible. For a split second, Max froze. Just a pause, barely noticeable, but it was there. Then she recovered, brushed it off, said something vague about adjustments and timing, and the conversation sort of died on its own. And that's when things started to change. Not overnight, not dramatically, but noticeably. My health slowly improved. The constant heaviness lifted. The depression didn't magically disappear, but it loosened its grip. I started sleeping better. My appetite came back. I had energy again, real energy, not the forced kind. My relationship with my parents got better too. Fewer fights, less tension, actual conversations instead of constant conflict. Life didn't become perfect, but it became manageable. Max and I barely crossed paths after that. When we did, it was awkward, polite, distant. Eventually, nothing at all. To this day, I'm not fully convinced that all my problems came from that amulet. If I'm being rational, it was probably my anxiety, my overthinking, my tendency to spiral when things go wrong. But still, I don't know. Because after all of this, I had a conversation with my mom about my grandmother. And that's when she told me something I'd never known. Turns out my grandma was the village healer. The first one people went to. She treated people with herbs, made tinctures and teas, helped when doctors were far away. I was too young to understand any of that back then, but suddenly that dream felt a lot less random and a lot harder to dismiss.